Hello, welcome to Bloomerangas podcast, and I'm thrilled to welcome today Marina Willer to the podcast. She's a partner at a legendary design firm Pentagram and one of the most respected creative voices in the design world. And she has led brand identity projects for iconic institutions like Tate, Amnesty International, and Rolls-Royce. And beyond design, she's also an accomplished filmmaker. So her documentary, Red Trees, premiered at the Cannes Film Festival, where she tells a deeply personal story of exile and resilience. So, welcome, Marina. Very excited to have you with us.
Oh, it's lovely to be with you. Thank you. Thank you for inviting.
Mm, Thank you again. So, we'll start with a personal question about your Brazilian roots. I'm very curious about that. Um, how did growing up in Brazil shape your visual vocabulary, since it's such a rich country and design is such an important aspect, colors, right, and patterns of part of the culture. So would you mind elaborating a little bit on that and sort of how bringing Brazil within you to London has expanded on your experience?
Yes, so I was born in Brazil and I moved to London 25 years ago. I actually came a little bit before. I came to study to my master's at the Royal College of Art, and then I went back for a bit. And anyway, been here for 25 years. I've been a partner here for 13, I think, at Pentagram. So I grew up in Brazil, even though my family is a big mixture. That's what I talk about in my film, Red Trees. Brazil is a very mixed, culture and a really cosmopolitan place, and it's something I celebrate a lot. So my dad was Czech, my mom half French, half German, but born in Brazil. And so I am a bit of all of those things, and Brazilian as well as all of those things. And Brazil, the Brazilian culture is very present, I think, in my work through colors and joy and celebration of life and diversity. And I think it's become more and more present throughout the years. When you live abroad, sometimes you become more aware of your own identity, and that becomes a stronger element in your work.
Yes, I understand that. Um, which elements did you kind of bring out these days the most from your roots,
I
apart from
think
colors?
I think joy, optimism. Brazil is many philosophers say this is a source of hope for humanity
Mm,
in a way, even though there are terrible things happening also in Brazil in political sense. We've had our version of Trump with Bolsonaro, and that's caused a lot of damage a few years ago to the country, and many lives were lost because of that in different ways. But Brazil is a very resilient culture, but a culture that has a lot of joy in it. So I think color, joy, music, and different perspectives, really, and not just. I am also, in some ways, I have become British, and I bring that um, to my identity as well. My children were born in this country. My husband's English, so I'm a bit of everything. I think I'm not just Brazilian or just English or just whatever the background. And I think that mixture of cultures makes it makes what my work and my identity are.
wonderful. And at Pentagram, you mentioned that when designing brand identities, you're more focusing on designing systems, right? Not just visuals. Would you mind elaborating a little bit on that and maybe sharing a bit on the process of how you're co-creating with clients?
Yes, when creating brands, I think what we do is we create systems and languages which are made of many components. They have to be based on one big narrative that is quite single-minded, but they can also be extremely flexible to be more participative. The way I tend to work with clients and with my team is that we always have a part of the project that is very much about understanding the strategic needs and positioning the project and understanding what the creative brief is. So that strategy informs then the design. And with regards to design, I try to always have different methods of creativity, use different methods, and not, especially now with technology, things that look so similar in a way, because they are defined by the techniques that are provided through whether it's AI or just digital tools. And I use all of those tools, as well as a really wide range of methods, which can be very experimental. And I try to use a different method for every project if possible, and work with my team in that way, so that the aesthetics of one project is different to the other, and it's also very unique to the brief and to what that client and organization is about. So it's so projects don't just look the same, but they truly express the uniqueness of that client and their strategy and what they're trying to do in the world.
Beautiful. And what are the most important qualities and skills for you to have in your team?
My team, I think I look for people who are very imaginative and look at things in different ways and are interested in lateral thinking, rather than just people who look to use the latest technique or do what's trendy. I think we try to create work that is timeless, and it also needs to be contemporary. But I think both things go together rather than separate. So I look for that, but I also look for multiple skills in being able to use different tools, from digital to not digital, from coding through to motion, through to photography and everything. So that we can go in the workshop and really experiment. Sometimes I draw a logo using a record player and a pen and paper to rotate and get whatever effect that comes. Or we stick a brush to the end of a screwdriver and that rotates. Or, and I do projections through water and photograph and film. So just all of that. And you need people who are prepared to embrace and make things happen and find solutions that maybe weren't so familiar before. But we also do need quite good skills in the more technical and tech sort of aspects of both, whether it's using AI or using motion platforms and tools and coding and everything else.
Yes, I did read that you like to experiment with analog and digital, and I really love that. So it's all about, just like you said, it's all about keeping that curiosity alive, which I guess is the source of inspiration, right? Or drives inspiration if we stay curious and open-minded.
Yeah, and I did a course with Domestica, a masterclass, but the masterclass and the course are different, but the masterclass was a summary of that, and it talks very much about, it shows some of these crazy methods that we come up with. And I think sometimes the method needs to be informed by the strategy, so it reflects what we're trying to communicate. But the method will give you answers that you don't even know until you do. So
Yes.
by experimenting with ink in a in a glass of water and filming that. You don't know what's going to come out, but you put that on a light box and you film from above, from below, whatever. And you then get things that you didn't expect. And sometimes they will work, sometimes they will be terrible, but you have to be prepared to, find things that you're not quite expecting yet, and not have a very set answer. I think we all, including myself, you designers, we also appreciate craft, and to a certain, there's a paradox between control and letting it go, because we love things being beautifully put together. So
Yes.
sometimes we jump to the answer. So it's trying to break that mold, but also then craft things to the level that they need to be done.
Yes, and everything resonates so much with what you're saying, because Bloomerangas podcast is also based on a game that we run, creativity workshops, and it's exactly on these principles that we always try to explain to people, that it's like you come open-minded with no expectations, because only then, when you let go, let it get into that kind of process, you can kind of have the breakthroughs, right? And rather than very structured outcomes. So
Exactly.
wonderful to hear and that you're also doing that. Great. So, but then sort of when there is that period of experimentation, exploration, right, adventure in a way, then that generates different ideas. And how do you then kind of make sense of these ideas and shape those ideas into final output?
I think experience really helps there, because I remember when I was a young designer, I was doing that already when I did the logos and the series of logos and the identity for Tate gallery. I did that through doing projections and using a fan and mirrors and light and filming and photographing. And that was pre-digital, it's 25 years ago. And so the mindset was there. I think it was there since I went to college, and I had a brilliant mentor who was Margaret Calvert, who is one of the lead designers in the world. And she really, I think, was really instrumental to pushing me to open up and think of different ways. So, so with experience, I think it becomes easier to see what's going to work and how to make sense of it. So it's being the editor of all of that. So I see with the designers that come work with us, and they do brilliant things, but they do need the help with creative direction and working together and art directing and editing and deciding, we explore all these things. What do we do with them now? Which are relevant? Also, you can't end up with too many different ideas, because that creates a conflict. So in what we do, it's important to have coherence and have one sort of main, as they say, one main thing that you're trying to communicate. So you have to then let go of some other great ideas, because you can't put everything. It's not, the work isn't the soup of, one that has to tell one story. And the story can still be very flexible, but it needs to be coherent and make sense. I think experience has helped me a lot. And when I moved to Pentagram to become a partner, you're more in control of what you're going to work on and who you want to bring to that, and what clients. And I think in that stage, I started to become a lot faster in making those decisions and being able to orchestrate things, and instinct counts a lot as well. It's not all rational. It's not all, okay, this makes sense. That is too abstract. That is too beautiful, but not relevant to this project. And I always say, you have lots of ideas in your head and your cabinet of ideas, and they sometimes find a home, as I say, when the brief is right. And then nothing goes to waste, in the sense that even if you're exploring something, you have to let it go, that you learn something from it, and that might come to life in a different chapter of your life, or with a different client or a different, so many things that I'm doing come from other explorations. Like, for example, I'm doing an exhibition at the Design Museum in September at the London Design Festival, and they are exhibition of my sketchbooks using stickers to create artworks. And I started that many years ago when I was mapping things out and process. And then I suffer from migraines. So I do a lot of that for fun or to release from a lot of work stress and digital screen kind of fatigue. And I started to do more and more of that during COVID because we had time and on the weekend and the evenings, you couldn't really do much. So that became a form of release from just working on Zoom and all of that. And it kind of keeps evolving. And now we got to this day. It's been already had a life because I did a series of menus for the Royal Designer, which is a body that I'm part of. And for the ceremony, I did some menus which were made by hand with the stickers. And now we're doing this. So everything has a life of its own once it starts, and
Yes.
them a new chapter. You just need to decide what's relevant when, and you become a lot. It's just life experience, I think, and experience working for a period of time that makes it easier to decide and to edit down things. And it's a relief because I remember when I was junior designer and doing a project like Tate, I was so stressed because you don't quite know, how to edit and make sense. So you're just exploding with ideas, but you're kind of a bit overwhelmed by them.
Yes, I
Becomes
understand.
easy.
Yes. I guess with experience, you learn to let go, relax into the process, because even if that process is full of unknowns, you kind of learn to trust it, right? And just like you said,
everything it'll be all right, and we learn, because sometimes you wake up overwhelmed by the amount of work you need to do and all of that. But when you think about it, you'll manage because you manage it before. And I never imagined I would be doing like the Natural History Museum Identities. It was huge, and it was such a big, complicated project, but it came out and we were proud and it works. And so you think, okay, we've done this, we've gone through this really kind of big, complicated brief, but we work our process step by step. We listen, we learn, we explore, we, open up, and then you close it again, and then you craft, and then you put logic, and then you make it a system, and you solve. And then you have a team of really talented people that some things we are better than others, like we each bring different aspects. And people who are very skilled and very experienced, others are less experienced, so they bring also freshness, which is good. But that way of working is very collaborative, and it gives each other reassurance. You don't need to feel that you're alone with a big project and you're going to spend the night trying to find a solution. You actually know that together we'll get there. And there's a process that is very experimental, but it's also a process. And that helps to see, okay, there's a path ahead. We'll be all right. And I know, because it's hard when you're starting. Sometimes everything is too scary, isn't it? How am I going to have ideas for everything? But, you find that you have a little bit of a method of dealing with things that helps.
Right. So everything that you describe, you beautifully describe the creative process, right? And kind of how to learn, how to trust it, go with it, and in a way let all ideas surface, and then let them live on their own, right? But also not be afraid of letting go of some ideas, because the role of the design lead, right? The design leader that would do this filtering based on the client brief, I guess, is crucial, right, in this process of getting lost in experimentation, but then really doing these picking the right picking and shaping of those ideas to come out into final output. So do you think that every designer can have this capacity to do that, or it's a certain skill set that can grow into this role
I think
of
it's
doing?
a certain type of, I think that for all kinds of, there's all kinds of animals in the zoo.
Yeah.
They're all different. And I think some animals have, you know, specific inclination. Some people are more shy and have are more quiet, but they're really thoughtful. Some people are really good at fine tuning and sort of crafting. Some people are very original and they're always experimenting things. But the role of a creative leader, you need a bit of all of those things, and you need to see a design vision for projects, because without a vision, you just have stuff. And that vision is part of the experience, but I also think it's a certain mindset, and not it's not for everyone in the same way that not everyone wants to be a doctor, or not everyone. I think it's not more important or less important, but it's a bit like a conductor in an orchestra, that she or he, or that person needs to have a view of what you're trying to do with the entirety of that piece of music.
Yes.
And then you see, this one, that one, and bringing that together, but encouraging, not suppressing creativity. And sometimes it's challenging because, the people have ideas and they get frustrated, they might not come true, but all of it is learning. And like you said, learning to let go. But I don't like with anything, any career or any sort of talent or orientation, it we're not all the same. We all have different sort of skills and personality. You need to have a certain personality, but then there are so many different views also on what leadership is, and I believe in quite collaborative, inclusive methods. But I also think that vision and that creative direction is very important. Otherwise, you end up with results that are a bit of like a cacophony of different sounds,
Right.
and one beautiful orchestrated piece.
Yes. So what do you think that the design leaders, right, who are able to see the vision and to kind of bring everyone together to create this unity, right? How can they nurture creativity and become better than and what they do?
First of all, I think you are more comfortable nurturing creativity once you feel that you're not under threat, or you don't feel insecure. You let go a bit of your ego because you feel comfortable that there are many wonderful people around you and they all should have their voice. And sometimes I see when we're creating something starts to emerge that I hadn't anticipated. And sometimes to start with, I think, oh, this is a bit weird. But then I tell myself, let that go through a bit. And then you're sometimes surprised that becomes a really wonderful, surprising, different outcome. And we've had that, I think, when we were working recently on Glyndebourne, is this opera that is very idiosyncratic, quite unusual. And I remember things that the team were doing, because often I have a vision and I already suggest, oh, let's experiment with this. But they started to experiment with some things that I hadn't anticipated. And to start with, I was like, that's a bit uncomfortable. But then I got over it and I thought, no, that's actually wonderful and it's unusual and it's different, but in a good way. And that, a lot of those things became core part of the identity that we did there. So it's very nice to see that happen.
Beautiful. On how is creativity like nurtured or encouraged within Pentagram as an organization? Is it also, like you said, like through leadership then in teams, or
Yes.
are there any activities?
Yes, there's many things that we do, but also I think we are very proud to not be a corporate agency. So as a model, each team is run by a creative like myself and a partner, um, and we own the business together. So the model is already about celebrating creativity versus having business leaders or managers. So it's
Right.
different to the more usual commercial setup. We don't have titles like executive, CEO, managing director. All of that language isn't ours. So no one wants to be an executive creative director or whatever that terminology,
Right.
which is so hierarchical. I think we're just practicing designers. Some are more, leaning towards, like myself, I do film and I do branding mostly, but we do a lot of exhibition design. Others are more digital or oriented, like AI and stuff, and others are more writing oriented. So you get different angles, but all of those teams and partners are run by creative skills. So the company is run by designers, actually. So
Right.
that in itself changes everything. So we have a huge workshop where we build things physically, or we do things with 3D printers, or we record sound or photographs. So that's always been a core part of our sort of structure. When we move to the new office now, new studio, we're going to have a gallery. So we're going to have an art gallery as
Oh,
part of
nice.
the office. So we'll curate exhibitions every 6 months. There'll be a new exhibition oriented around creativity, design, and things related to that. Uh, so I organize the talks here, which are very popular, and we get incredible creatives to do talks from other companies or just artists and so on. So there are many things that we do, but each partner runs their team in the way that they feel like it's relevant to them. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I also, it's important to say, I think all of us, we do quite a lot of work that isn't just commercial work. We do work almost as artists, graphic artists or filmmakers, or, a lot of us write books and publish books. So we do exhibitions like I'm going to do, or I made the film. So there's a whole side that feeds into the more commercial side. There is this constant investigative mindset. People like Harry Pierce is an incredible photographer and he's said books. Anyway, many of us, or if you think Paula Scher, she's a brilliant painter. Michael Beirut has always written incredible books. So there's a side to what we do, which isn't to make money, but is to keep pushing the idea of design and creativity forward.
Wonderful. Sounds like a real creativity mecca. Oh, it's Pentagram. Beautiful. So, of course, I understand. That's great to hear that that's kind of the leading aspect of how the work is organized and what makes the organization kind of heartbeat. But then I assume that you still need to learn some business skills, right? To have certain business skills as a creative leader. What would those be? What are those skills that are kind of the most helpful for you?
Yes, that's absolutely true. And I think that's the other side of the, the coin as such. Our partners, have to be quite skilled at winning work, at doing work that is strategic and helps organization. Like I never thought I'd do the branding for Rolls-Royce, but it's a project. We won the pitch, and it was quite creative, the pitch, but it was very strategic in terms of changing the positioning of Rolls-Royce to a new era. So a lot of
Mhm.
projects that we do, whether it's Naturalist Museum or Tate, or I do a lot of work for not-for-profit organizations, charities, and social like you mentioned, Amnesty or Oxfam. There's a lot of that, but it's always to respond to a strategic need. And I think knowing that, being able to address that, and doing a phase of work to start with, which is establishing the strategy for the project, whether it's a brand strategy or whether it's the strategy for an exhibition, or what is the work that a book might be trying to, communicate. All of those are important considerations.
Right. And is there like the people that you hire on your team and take on board, is this something that they get training on, or is that important skill to develop within your team as well, like that strategic thinking?
I
Because
use
not all creatives have that as well,
No,
right?
it's actually we use strategists. We work with, we collaborate with. There's a number of strategists that are we are connected with, and they're part of our network, and we work constantly with. So it's as if they were in the team, but we have a more ad hoc relationship because it depends on what project and who's the right person. So these are people who would have the business understanding and background, and they can help to shape that with myself and the team, so that we're absolutely spot on what the platform for the design will be. So I'm working on
Wonderful.
projects right now in that phase where you are establishing, some company that's really focused on sustainability. Now they call it regeneration, actually, because that's the word that is about more than being sustainable. So you have to have strategies that fully understands the most current thinking in that area, and what does a business need to do to really deliver that, and then we express that through the design after. So we have the support of very clever
Wonderful.
people who studied at Cambridge or Oxford or wherever, and they give us that reassurance that we are not missing anything, and that we are really being able to drive the businesses that we work with forward, and help them really stand out and express what they need to express.
Wonderful. That sounds amazing. So as a leader, as a design leader partner at Pentagram, what are your, let's say, still the biggest aspirations at the current moment? Is there any kind of dream project, or maybe on the personal side, personal project that you kind of still have this itch for? And
I actually don't know. I think I want to do more and more things which are very much a hybrid between being a maker and whether it's a filmmaker or a maker, like I do my paintings and I do my sketching, and there's many things that I do with creativity. So I think I want to use that more and more, and maybe there are spaces for that, but I don't quite have a specific client or there's so many things that I'd love to help, also social causes that I'd like to, and some of the some charities that do incredible work in times of war now, and so we do a lot of initiatives for that. So the work that at the design museum, the exhibition, we're going to auction all of the 875 sketchbooks they're making, and then the money will go to Choose Love, which is a charity that works a lot in war zones. Important to me because I find it really hard to reconcile with what's going on in the world today.
yeah.
And it is very irresponsible to not think about it or not figure out how we can. So I don't know if my small contributions make any difference, but perhaps that's an ambition for the future, is to do more for those
Mm.
use more of my creativity and the people around me for causes that are important in the world. I think that is something to be figured out, and perhaps there'll be a phase in my life where I focus more on that. Maybe I'll make another feature film, but I don't know.
Yes, I connect with you. It's really sad and sometimes feels hopeless, but
Yes,
yeah.
and creativity is a form of hope and a form of activism almost. So I think that is a powerful tool in hard times like today, and think that's the area that I think we can help with. Is just making, trying to understand. I think that I see that there are graphic artists, a bit like the area I've been doing more and more, like myself, but they already do things in a very big scale, in spaces, and I think I would like to do that, to do almost like occupy spaces, or bring life to spaces that can then be participative or can help to bring voices together. So I think it's all in my head, processing slowly, and we'll get there eventually.
I'm sure of that. And what about AI? Like it's among creatives, it's such a sort of controversial topic.
Yeah.
Some love it, some hate it. How do you see it, and how are you planning to integrate it into your work or process?
Yes, I feel that when people just embrace AI without thinking about how it impacts on things, that's not very innovative, actually, and that's not very responsible. I think AI needs to be a tool that we use, but it needs to be driven by human insight. And that is not only a responsibility, but that's the way that we can create difference. I think what is happening a lot is that we're so excited or so overwhelmed by it that we just think, oh my God, I need to do everything with AI, but not thinking about how. And like with any digital transformation, you end up with the method defining the outcome more than it should. Whilst I think it's human insight that should inform. Of course, the methods, a bit like I said before, with any creative method, they can lead to different outcomes, and that's wonderful. But making those choices is you need that orchestrator to bring the methods together. But it's so much, the change is so huge that there are so many things that we don't even know that we can do yet. But of course, the risk of everything, of people losing jobs and things losing authenticity, all of that is huge. So I hope that, we are able to come up with a framework for how we use AI that is both extremely creative and exciting, but it's also responsible, and it's not about replacing human talent. It's about supporting and enabling human talent to places that we never could imagine.
Right. So my last final question would be, for young designers who are dreaming to be part of Pentagram, or just generally creating their career in today's world, which is everything you've talked about, full of uncertainty and a lot of tools, and right, what would you advise to focus on the most for young designers starting out these days?
It's the biggest advice is stay curious, get involved. I think sadly there was a generation that was very entitled, that came in between things, and people think, oh, I'm just going to do what's under my job description, or I'm not going to, whilst my generation, we would throw ourselves into everything. And I didn't do all these projects out of nothing. I spent nights and nights and nights working. I think it's good that we now have healthier working hours and respect so many things that we just abuse ourselves a bit. But I think you do need to have a lot of curiosity and be keen and learn and be really savvy and be really trying to learn as much as you can, and not just the obvious, not just look at other designer work, look at, philosophy, cinema, poetry, go to carwood sales, go to vintage shops, go to DIY shops, look at how things are organized in different ways, and go to libraries. I think just feed your brain with as much as you can, and be awake to what's around us. If you just numb, you need to really be quite connected and mindful and present, stay quite present. And I think that is what helps you see, because creativity is all around us and everyone is creative, but sometimes you are repressed and you can't even see that you have that in you. So you're like, without sounding too exotic, but I think we all have an inner power that we can release if we are, open. We're like sponges and we can learn from the surroundings. And that's why you need to surround yourself also by interesting people and books and creative things and art and culture, rather than just looking at your phone. And I know the phone can bring also curious things that you do find through digital platforms, but that addiction takes away a lot of our ability to create as humans, and it's very damaging. And I feel so sad when I see parents bringing children to the restaurant and putting a screen in front of them while they eat their dinner. I mean, that is criminal. Just don't bring them, or don't go, or if you can't
agree.
conversation, or you can't just give them some paper to draw. I think sometimes you see babies on a pram with a screen already. The addiction is a bit like giving heroin to the children. It's how can you not think that's going to create a big damage? And even the parents who are conscious struggle sometimes to get the screens away from their children. But if you're feeding that because you can't deal with them crying a bit or something, then you are creating a child that will be addicted. And it is serious addiction, and it's leading to horrible things, children suicide, and because they are growing up in this really messed up way. It's also the reason why we have a terrible government in America and in other countries as well, which is because they elect themselves through the use of technology and social media algorithms. And it's you can be a complete imposter in our times. And I was listening to Salman Rushdie's interview the other day, and then I think he said something like that being an imposter or something, he used a different word, but it was like imposter is the most powerful tool of our times. That's what elected Trump. That's what other presidents in different countries. And, we're paying the price for that. Putin is, there, and, all this, what Netanyahu is doing. I mean, there's all these terrible men, but it's always technology that allowed those stories to be distorted and people to believe in huge lies. So anyway, I went off piste a bit, but I think get out of that addiction to the screen and go back to the real world is really important. Yeah.
Right. Yes, and encourage relationship creation, right? Because if the
Exactly.
child is kind of silenced.
Yeah, you need to
It's
learn
like
to communicate and not be terrified when you have to connect with another human.
exactly,
know,
exactly.
how do you build a relationship when you are later with friends, with
Exactly.
lovers, or whatever in the future? How do you build a healthy
A
community?
connection, right? It's
Deal
sort
with
of we are deleting the way towards that by acting with children this way. Yeah, I mean, I have a newborn baby now, so I
Oh,
observe as other parents a lot these days, and I had
I
exactly
know
the
it's not
same.
easy, but look, if you decided to be a parent, I have
Mm.
twins, and it was
Oh wow!
in the beginning, but it's the most rewarding thing as well. So,
Yes, yes.
you will get back what you plant the seeds, and they will flower. So it's worth the
Yeah.
effort. Otherwise, don't bother. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. Why otherwise have children if you are not spending
Yeah.
time with them,
Or you're
right?
leading them to, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yes.
so it's
Well, thank you so much, Marina, for your time. It was so refreshing to talk to you. It's like my heart was singing just by listening to you. So
where are you?
I am in Lithuania, but my mom lives in
Oh,
London, so I
okay.
come
I
to
was
London a
wondering.
lot.
Yeah. Suddenly I came across, some people from Lithuania, and I almost went to Lithuania when I was doing a project. But I'm very curious. I think it's a beautiful part of the world. Yeah.
Yes, it is, and it's not that hot in the summer. I've heard in
Oh,
London it's like the heat is quite
yeah.
high.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Oh,
if you ever decide to visit, of course, I'll be happy to show you around. So
nice. And also, if you come to London, come and visit our studio. And
I'd love to. I'd love
when
to.
you've got the podcast, send it to us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Marina. Good luck with the moving. Okay, bye.